2:30 in the morning, just let the dogs out for a wee. I'm not sure whether you're going to see these stars or not, but it's such a clear night. I don't think you'll see them really. And so I don't really think you're going to see it, but oh, the Milky Way as well.
So this is our park up last night. We're on Wanlockhead Pass, and just over here this stretch of water is Wanlock water, and salmon spawn here, and they live in the river. Before they go out to sea, where they live for 1 to 3 years, it says, and then come back to spawn themselves. So this water obviously goes all the way out to sea at some point. Come on, this way. Hey, coming out. The sun's just starting to get above the hills. You know, it was frosty this morning when I first brought the dogs out. There's a couple of other campers in the valley, but the puddles we're starting to get a touch of ice on, so it was quite cold. And you can see there's ice forming on there. Sign, information sign about the salmon. The young salmon live in the rivers for 2 to 3 years before migrating to the sea, and then return to the river of their birth. So let's go and have a bit of a wander. That's where we're parked. That's the pass going up. The sun's just rising, so I don't know how clear that is going to be. It might be in the shadow a bit. Bay's got a silly mood on. She wants to steady. We're just up here. Looks like a pinfold for sheep, or an old one. Imagine these days there's a lot more sheep on the hills than they'll go in here. Looks like visitors use it to have a drink, the bonfire, or a bit of a fire. There are fire pits all around where people just come up and presumably watch the sun go down or watch the sun go up, as it is doing just now. That's looking down the rest of the pass. That's towards Sanquar, where we'll be heading later. But I think first we're going back up the hill, up the pass to Wanlockhead. We'll see. So I've just come a bit higher. Have a see, have a look, see if we can see anything in that gully up there. Nab's enjoying the heather. As I say, the sun's starting to hit the hills now.
That's breakfast done. Bacon butty again.
With brown sauce this time.
Go on then. What time did we get up?
8 o'clock. Well, about 7:45 I think it was.
So how many hours sleep was that?
I don't know, I've not looked yet. A lot. It's thinking about it, so we'll have to let you know that later.
You had a good sleep, didn't you? You weren't over keen on the wind, were you, Nab, rocking the van? Bay's just wanted to help with the washing up, really. What are you, Bay? Was it caught up?
It's finally found itself and uploaded the information. 10 hours 11 minutes I had. You had more because it took me a while to get to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, 10 hours 11 minutes. Not quite as long as yesterday, which was 10 hours 55 minutes.
And we've had nearly 12 hours at one point.
So ridiculous.
First stop of the day, Wanlockhead. That's the Museum of Lead Mining, the visitor centre. But it's that time of the year. We're a little bit out of season, so places are closed apart from weekends. And it's not weekend. But there's a heritage trail which we're going to walk. So where are we? We are here. Now we're going to do the Blue Route, which is a circular walk. Takes in Bay Mine. And it's about 2.5 miles long. We're not doing badly with the weather today.
No, glorious sunshine. Do the batteries no end of good.
Yep.
And a clear blue, well, clearish blue sky.
Still breezy though. That breeze has dropped, hasn't it? This bit
Had to the side of the hill.
So Wanlockhead was a mining village. And it's saying the rock that the miners had to contend with in Wanlockhead is called greywacke, which is a very hard substance. Usually 2 men would have the job of drilling the rock by hand. One man would hold a long chisel firmly, turning it occasionally, while the other would hit the chisel with a heavy hammer. Got to have a bit of trust there.
You haven't you? When I nod my head, hammer it.
Wanlockhead takes its name from Wanlock Water, a stream which rises in the remote hollow which forms the setting of the village. St John's Church over there. It's a Church of Scotland. It's the last of 3 churches that are in the village. It was built in 1848 by the Duke of Buccleuch on the site of a previous church which had been erected in 1755 by the mining company. I was reading that the mining company really looked after their workers, but I suppose they had to in a high position like this village. Otherwise, they wouldn't have stayed. The bell tower was removed in 1953 and the last service to be held in the church was in 1985. It's pretty recent really, what, 39 years ago?
Yeah.
Religion in Wanlockhead was likely introduced in the 1700s by the Quakers, who not only brought their religious teachings but their education to the village as well. And there are 3 stained glass windows which were dedicated to various members of the Hasty family and were commissioned by the Reverend John Hasty. There's the old beam engine over there. We'll get over to that on the way round because this is a circular walk. The village exists due to the lead and other mineral deposits found in the surrounding hills. And the deposits were first exploited by the Romans, and then from the 13th century they began to be worked again.
So you wonder, all the mines, coal mines that were now no longer used, in a couple of 100 years' time, will they open them all up again?
Yeah.
Like the Romans
were
mining and doing stuff, and then
yeah, you drop.
And then later, hundreds of years later, they started mining.
Yeah. Well, it was almost, there were plans submitted, they've just been turned down, haven't they, for a new coal mine in Cumbria.
Yes.
So the trains and tramways. In the early days, the lead ore, galena, was transported to Leith Harbour via Biggar over the uneven roads of the period, using a horse and cart. I bet it's a nice little community, being so small, and it's tucked away really, isn't it?
It is.
In 1845, a narrow gauge tramway was built between the Meadowfort, Queensbury, the Queensbury smelter, and the centre of Wanlockhead. The tramway also linked to the Bay mine and the new Glencree mine. The path and most of the heritage trail that we're on follows the route of the old tramway.
Buildings didn't have any frontage, so they think they were in more or less constant use as for carpenters or blacksmiths.
The village itself was founded permanently in 1680 when the Duke of Buccleuch built a lead smelting plant and the workers' cottages.
This is the new Glencree mine, the origins of which lie back in the early 18th century, and with the first recorded working on the vein giving the mine its name in 1718.
Through its history, 7 companies have operated the mine, improving the operations and installing new technology. The driving of the Glenclass adit, don't know what an adit is, around 1740 revealed a very rich source of ore which was raised until 1770, so a good 30 years. A shaft sunk on the West Grove vein is to a depth of 240 fathoms on the slope of the vein, and 1 fathom equals 6 foot.
Well, back on the previous board, they were saying that the miners were paid £1 a fathom.
All right.
So that's where that's why they use a fathom. So every 6 feet they mined, they got £1.
Right.
Which is quite a good wage.
I was thought back then.
Probably hard work.
Yeah.
But
in 1755, a new company with Mr. Ronald Crawford at its head took control of the mine. Their first lease was for only 19 years, but they afterwards obtained a new lease to expire in 1842. And the new company was enterprising and very successful. They discovered new rich veins, and when workable ore could no longer be found, they erected a series of steam engines, some on the surface and some underground, to drain off water from their borings beneath level. So successful were the operations that during 50 years, 47,420 tonnes of lead was raised. From 1842, the Duke of Buccleuch, still don't know how to pronounce that, retained the mine under his management. It was worked utilising 4 powerful hydraulic engines and 1 steam engine. In 1845, all the recent mining improvements had been introduced. The process of refining and separating the silver from lead ore was carried out simultaneously at a newly built smelting plant at Meadowfoot. The average annual output was 1,000 tonnes of lead and 5,750 ounces of silver.
It was closed in 1931, only to be reopened in the 1950s. It then finally closed due to high operating costs and low lead prices in 1956.
And this was the last mine to close in the village. 105,000 tonnes of lead was smelted from the new Glencree vein by the time of final closure. And there were some surface reprocessing operations still happening in the 60s. As well as lead and silver, zinc, copper and gold were mined in the area. And some of the world's purest gold at 22.8 carats was mined locally, and that was used to make the Scottish crown. This side is just about the principal dates. 1710, the London Lead Company, the Quakers arrived in the village and took leases on the lead mines and introduced their religious teachings and education. 1742, the B797 approaching Wanlockhead from the A76 Mennock Pass, which is where we parked last night, was constructed as a toll road and completed in 1765 for the approximate sum of £600. And a toll house was erected at the top of the village to collect toll money until 1866, when the toll charges were dropped.
Mains electricity in 1949, mains water in 1982, and mains sewage in 1992.
Gosh,
replaced the old septic tanks.
In 1850, Robert Reid, known as Rob Wanlock, a poet, was born in Wanlockhead and educated at the village school. He then went to Glasgow at the age of 15 and in 1877 travelled to Montreal. He was employed with Henry Morgan and Company until he retired in 1914. He died at his residence in Westmount on the 1st of June 1922. And part of one of his poems reads, "The bonny hills of Wanlock, I spielt them een and a. Beith lach and..." oh sorry if you're Scottish. And Beith lach and hike and stay and drink in rain and rauch and snow. I think I can understand what some of it says. There's a bit about snow in there. In 1871, a silver band was formed and had a set of fantastic instruments purchased for them by the Duke of Buccleuch. I'm going to tell you a bit more about him because he's quite an interesting character later on. It consisted of one bass drum, 6 cornets, 1 baritone horn, 1 euphonium and 1 E-flat clarinet. They were made by Besson of London. The band was one of the oldest institutions in the village. Because of the richness of minerals in the area, Wanlockhead became known as God's treasure house. Bays panning for gold, we hope. Sorry?
When you see them panning for gold, they only get little slithers of it.
They're like grains, aren't they?
Grains of gold. I just want to find a big lump of it.
And there's a view looking up towards the village. You see it's nestled away in a valley. Glen, sorry.
meadowfoot crushing and dressing plant. During the 18th century, most of the ore dressing, processing that is, was done by hand. From the early 19th century it became much more mechanised, but child labour remained particularly important, especially in the lead mining industry. Miners' children started work from the age of 8 or 9, shovelling and hauling ore, or tending the dressing floors.
Water power was used from the very early days of mining to help run the equipment that removed floodwater from mine workings. And as the industry developed, so did the innovations for making the most of this natural commodity. The ore was brought to the plant via the tramway, which we walked along, and deposited into the crusher. The crusher was operated via the large water wheel, turning a series of cogs and wheels to break up and crush the rocks to separate the lead ore. After the crusher, the ore was moved onto the jigger, where the task of separating the heavier ore from the waste rock began.
So the large water wheel was just in that dip over here. This is where the large water wheel was, and then the jigger, presumably, is a floor that sifts it out. I don't know, I've not read the information.
I suppose it's like a vibrating floor, isn't it?
Sounds like it could be. Yes, separating the galena from the waste rock. Galena being heavier settles to the bottom of the jiggers. So yeah, it's a shifting floor. There's the water wheel crushers coming onto the jigger floor, jigger house.
And then the buddle house, which was there. The waste material from the jiggers drained into the buddle house, a series of inclined troughs with running water to wash out lighter and less valuable materials, and any galena fragments were separated and collected. And then at that end were the washing floors. From the buddle house, the waste was transferred to the washing floors, where it was subjected to even more refinement via a vibrating table and running water. Particles as small as grains of sand could be recovered from the waste. And the washing floors had a small separate water wheel to operate the machinery.
So it was quite refined process, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Getting down to the very small,
fine grains.
Yeah, fine grains. I suppose the money was in it,
yeah.
So it's made
worth doing. Some remnants of the wheels or some machinery just here.
Well, presumably that is a drive shaft on the water wheel somewhere, and this is will be a belt to drive off it.
We've already mentioned the Silver Band, but it was a busy village in other ways with lots of societies and clubs. It had a curling club which formed in 1777, and there are also quoits, bowling clubs, a drama group. So they had a lot going on, didn't they?
Well, they didn't have television, so they had to do something.
Twiddling their thumbs like you've been last few nights when we've not had internet. Deciding it's bedtime at 6 o'clock.
Well, I should have brought my guitar or my brass band, trumpet,
or the mandolin, or the drum kit, or what else is in the collection. We don't kind of know what that little dome is up there. Not seen anything on a map yet. We'll keep looking, try and find out. Keith and Alan have just gone to look for a geocache. And he's found it. Go and get Keith. Where's Keith? Go and get Keith. Come on then. Good girl, good boy. Go and get Keith. Walking past some of the, I presume these were workers' cottages as well. So they're quite big, aren't they? Yeah. Wonder whether these are all the mine owners or... Because I presume they lived very locally as well.
Yeah. You might have smaller ones for the miners, bigger ones for the supervisors, like they did in the railway.
Yeah.
Around the meadows in Nottingham.
Mm-hmm. Women's Evaluation Centre Psychiatric Ward. A mixture of styles.
Yes. Yes.
Walking past one of the graveyards now.
A ubiquitous yew tree in there.
Yep. Like anywhere else in the UK, there's inspections of headstones, whether they're going to take some down because they're leaning a bit. Health and safety, you know. Terrible. The maintenance and repair of memorials headstones is the responsibility of individual lair holders. Anybody know what a lair holder is?
Aren't they dead and buried?
Well, yeah, is a lair a grave?
I don't know.
Where's she at?
Is that her mine? They mine.
She's going in. You got your own mine, sweetheart. Oh wow, look at you. This is indeed Bay Mine. Bay Mine was named after Botany Bay in Australia. The mine was famed for being the site of William Symington's improved atmospheric pumping engine. 1789 saw the opening of the pumping shaft at Bay Mine, the first to use the improved pumping engine. And the main stone section can still be seen. Bay Mine had its water wheel and a steam engine, and both, if required, could be used to pump and drain mine water. And the steam engine powered the winding wheel. So William Symington was an engineer and inventor, and also, I've actually got this written down as well, also the designer and creator of the first practical steamboat, the Charlotte Dundas. Symington was born in the nearby village of Lead Hills. Although his parents intended for him to enter the ministry, he intended to use his education to make a career as an engineer. And in 1785 he joined his brother George to build a steam engine in Wanlockhead. Gilbert Meeson, the mine manager, was so impressed with William he sent him to the University of Edinburgh in 1786 to spend some time attending science lectures. When William returned to Wanlockhead, his brother George had already succeeded in building a second engine, using a design by James Watt. William quickly saw a way to unite the efficiency of this second Watt engine with the simplicity of that design by Thomas Newcomen. When Watt sent someone to investigate how Symington's new engine worked, he discovered that steam was condensed under a second piston. This was then pushed down when fresh steam entered the cylinder, forcing out the condensate. The power piston worked by atmospheric pressure acting on the vacuum created by the condensing steam. Now that's science. And we named our dog Bay just because of this mine. Didn't we, Bay? She's found one. Site of William Symington's improved atmospheric engine, 1789. Ubiquitous carvings on the stones in times past. J. Cameron, May the 5th, 1958. Industrial heritage and history is just as interesting, isn't it?
It is. I was saying it'd be nice to go back in time and see this working, and all the machinery and the innovations that they did to solve problems, wasn't it?
Yeah, to make things easier for the workers as much as anything, isn't it?
Yeah.
Going from hand drilling to
machines and sifting, and that was to pump water out of the shafts and things like that, so they could mine more.
Did they still have canaries? Or was that just coal mines?
I think that was coal mine because of the methane gas.
Right. Almost back at the start now, the heritage trail that we've walked, and we're just coming up to the beam engine. We already mentioned that the first minerals were probably exploited by the Romans using the hushing on the hillsides, the hushing technique. Hushing is a method using high pressure stream of water to reveal mineral veins. Mineral veins are often hidden below soil and subsoil, and high pressure water is the effective way of moving soil as well as working the ore deposits.
So that's what they use in abroad, isn't it? And then there's a big outcry where they're just using high pressure jets to wash away hillsides.
Yeah, yeah.
But how did the Romans get high pressure water?
Well, when you think about what the Romans invented, like with underfloor heating and everything, they were technologically advanced, weren't they, in a lot of ways. By the time the lead mining industry had started, the miners required more permanent dwellings. Some of those were those ruins over there. Tents were replaced by stone buildings made from local stones with thatched roofs of heather or turf. These buildings consisted of one room with a trodden down floor. There'd be a fire in the middle of the room with a small hole in the roof for a chimney. And the fire would be kept alight 24 hours a day, as it was a source of not only heat but light.
So this is the beam engine. There's some information just around here to tell you a bit more about it, hopefully. The beam engines were nicknamed bobbin johns because the way the beam went up and down all the time. And this was used to pump water from the mine, but it was also powered by water. The water was collected in the tank at the top of from the hillside, ran into a bucket. The weight of the bucket pushed it down, so the beam went down, and that pulled up the plunger on the other side. And as that sort of came up, it emptied the water out. So water coming down the hillside used to pump water out of the mine.
And back to where we started. And there's the van. It's a shame the museum's closed, because it means the tea room's closed as much as anything.
Hello.
Hello.
Are you local?
So what I didn't tell you is that Wanlockhead is Scotland's highest village, and the village centres at an elevation of around 1,329 feet above sea level. And the highest house in the village has been measured at 1,457 feet above sea level. And the Duke of Buccleuch, the name we've been trying to pronounce badly over the course of the walk, was an English nobleman and military officer. Originally he was called James Crofts or James Fitzroy. He was born in Rotterdam in the Netherlands and was the eldest illegitimate son of Charles II of England with his mistress, Lucy Walter. He was born on 9th of April 1649 and he died on the 15th of July 1685 at the age of 36 at Great Tower Hill, Tower of London, Liberties of the Tower, England. And he served in the Second Anglo-Dutch War and commanded English troops taking part in the Third Anglo-Dutch War before commanding the Anglo-Dutch Brigade fighting the Franco-Dutch War. He led the unsuccessful Monmouth Rebellion in 1685, which was an attempt to depose his uncle, King James II and VII. After one of his officers declared Monmouth the legitimate king of the town of Taunton in Somerset, Monmouth attempted to capitalise on his Protestantism and his position as a son of Charles II in opposition to James, who had become the Roman Catholic. The rebellion failed and Monmouth was beheaded for treason at the Tower of London. I hope you've enjoyed that little history walk with us. Time to see if we can find some lunch now and then move on to our next destination, which is a place called Sanquhar or Sanquhar. And again, we might have the pronunciation of that completely wrong. But before we get to Sanquhar, we're coming to the Wanlockhead for lunch, the highest pub in Scotland.
So one last bit of information about Wanlockhead. It's got a miners' library, and it's one of the oldest subscription libraries in Scotland and, in fact, Europe. It was established for our mutual improvement on the 1st of November 1756 by 32 men. The first woman was admitted in 1784, and the library was funded by subscription from the miners, but a contribution was also made by the mining companies. The library aimed to encourage self-improvement in the miners, but there was a hidden agenda. The mining companies believed that the library would help cut down on the unruly behaviour which existed at the time.
Due to drink, I presume?
Presumably, it doesn't say.
Would I recommend that pub? No, I wouldn't.
No.
It wasn't, I didn't feel
Welcome.
welcomed at all. It was I asked for coffee and it was and then we asked for a menu, looked at the menu. I think it was all just going to be frozen stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, we've got one of this, we've got one of that left.
Which is fair enough. But didn't really sort of welcome you and say, anything, did it?
No.
Continue on Church Street.
It's quite a dark pub inside as well, isn't it?
It's very heavy metal.
Yes.
It's fair enough. The toilets were different.
You'll insert a picture
Sometime
Now.
here somewhere.
just now. I didn't see the loos. That golf ball I mentioned earlier, again, we'll insert a picture just about now. It's actually a radar station used to detect air traffic, operated by the National Air Traffic Services, which is the UK's main air navigation service provider. Whilst primarily a civilian operation for the UK, all operations are fully integrated with military operations to ensure air safety in both controlled and uncontrolled airspace. So there you go. Now we're going in search of some lunch and somewhere welcoming.